Hi, this is Cousin Russ. I thought I would give you a follow-up on my Shaky Leaf plan that I've been working on with the Social Security Death Index. And I thought I'd bring you up to speed of what has happened and whether what I was doing works or not. Just in summary, in my file, I've got 9,000 or 8,950 people in my file. When I started the project a couple days ago, I had 197 people with hints in my ancestry member tree, 984 hints, 710 record hints, 144 photos, and 160 member tree hints. And I have been tracking this every couple hours to watch the hints grow on the ancestry member tree side. And a little earlier this evening, I did another count, and there was 408 people with hints, 2,081 hints, 1,478 record hints. And I found a way to turn the member trees off because for my purposes at the moment, I don't need to see them, but I can always turn them back on. That's an easy setting to do in the ancestry member tree. I started out with 22 Social Security Death Index records, and this is just a sample of a record group that I was working on to see if it was easier to work with a specific record group than work on a specific person. And when I started, and I'll tell you how I got there, I started out with 16 hints after my original 22 people that I already had Social Security Death Index information on. I added 16 more from hints and 27 without hints. And since then, I added 10 new hints, 10 new Social Security Death Index records from hints from ancestry member trees for a total of 87 Social Security Death Index records. And again, I'm using this record group only as a sample, and I worked on that's what I've been working on in this specific record group, and I'll tell you why in a few minutes. The steps that I did was I created a filter in Family Tree Makers I mentioned earlier for anybody who died after 1935, and I'll demonstrate how I did that here in a few minutes. So I had a list of people who had died since 1935 that I had death records in. And I checked for hints in Family Tree Maker, and that's 16 that I mentioned there. And then I began to manage my hints in the ancestry member tree. I have some Social Security Death Index information where there were no hints in the ancestry member tree. I had hints in the ancestry member tree that are also hints in Family Tree Maker 2014. But since I uploaded this file a couple of times, I picked up 11 new ones, as I mentioned earlier. And those 11 were people who I did not have any death information on. So that was a good capture of data. Some observations, and I'll come back to the observations here in a minute because I want to show you how I got there. So let's go to Family Tree Maker in the planned workspace as I normally start. And I will go to the People workspace. And from the People workspace, I created that list of people with death records. So I click here on Filter, and I'm going to filter in vital records with death date is after 1935. I click OK. So when I do that, it gives me a list of 338 people where I have death dates. And here are those people that are now filtered and only seeing those people. And you can see that I got a bunch of shaky leaves. But if I want to shake a leaf, I have to go someplace else. And I found this because I wanted to concentrate on a record group. The leaves in Family Tree Maker were not working for me. And as I talked about in a previous video, I decided that I would go over to the Ancestry member tree. Now I'm switching over to the Ancestry member tree, about the same view as I was seeing before. And I have shaky leaves here. And the shaky leaves would be just like the shaky leaves in Family Tree Maker 2014. But in the tree pull down menu, I have the option of all hints. So I can look at everybody and all the hints in my tree. And this is where I got some of those numbers from a little while ago, where there's 300, this is current, there's 398 people with hints, of which 1,500 of them are record hints. And as you can see, I turned the member tree hints off. This isn't very helpful to me, sorry. I just want to look at record hints. So this is what I did. I selected record hints, and there's a sort menu here. And the screen is very helpful because it looks like it's coming at me from all different ways. So I said, let me sort by last name. So now I have a list of last name. The trick then is to click on a letter of the alphabet, and now all the records for that person are listed right here. And this is where I picked up those hints with Social Security Death Index. I kept going through the list, and I just looked at the next, looked at each person and see what records they have. And again, I'm only concentrating for this project of Social Security Death Index. And I'm pretty confident that I will not find any Social Security Death Index in this set of in this file, because I just went in and cleaned it up. There are some observations that I made along the line. There's some record groups that I hadn't seen before, some record groups that I want to go back on, look at, like there's military records. But I also have the capability that if there's a record group that I don't want, I can click on ignore hints. So if I get a record group and I have a couple of them that I'm not going to deal with right now, I can turn them back on later. But there's some record groups as I was going through that I'm not going to look at. So I can turn those hints off and go from there. So if I find a Social Security Death Index record here, I would go back to Family Tree Maker and find that person with that link or with that hint, and I would then go to that person, and I change the letter of the alphabet. I would go to that person, click on their shaky leaf, and then look at the web search interface, web search workplace, to see what the hint was, and I'll go back to my observations. But this became very, very helpful. Now, once I've cleaned this set of records up, I can go on to other records, or I can come back and to the sort feature and select the most recent records. So now, there's an interesting story. Now, I'm going to go look at that. I'm not going to do it right now, but there's a couple records right here for this person. And the Cape May meeting is a Quaker meeting, and I know there's information there because I visited the Quaker meetings in that area. So I can come back and sort then by, you'll see a lot of Quaker records, Henshaw records, we haven't seen them for, at least I haven't seen them for a long time. I've seen them on CDs. I've got the Henshaw records on CDs, but they're now online. And so I can go back and look at my hints, and this is for my managing hints. And I'm doing it in this specific file that I created that's just doing for hints, and it's synced with Family Tree Maker 2014. So let me go back to my observations here. And my observations are pretty simple, and that is that reviewing the hints, I reviewed the hints, and I can ignore some hints, which is what I just talked to you about. Another observation, and when you do a web merge within 2014, there was some information that was on the merge that were not seen on the record. The age of death is there, and that's been there for a while, but there was some information that was in that same line. It's the description field for that person that said self-death. I need to follow up on them, and I have about 10 of them, one of which I know the person died due to a car accident. So I created a task for that to go follow up on that record, and I know what I'm going to look for. I'm going to look for newspaper articles to find out what does that self-death mean. And I just showed you how I sort the ancestry member tree by last name or the new hints. I did get more data. The more data that I upload, the more hints. And like I said, I gave you the numbers a few minutes ago of how those numbers of hints went up. Like all hints went from almost 1,000 to over double that in a matter of 2 days. And since I just went online and updated the file, there was more hints there that I have yet to look at. Why do I do this? Well, if I look at the record, it's going to tell me the date after 1951, because that's when we started to get to issue dates. So I know that sometime before 1951, and the location, or if it was the Social Security Death Index record was issued after 1951, the date will be there, or a date range will be there, and the state that it was issued. So that puts me not in pinpoint specific places, but it puts me about where that person was with that Social Security Death Index. There was one example that I have where the person, their whole life has been in Pennsylvania, but their Social Security record was issued in Maryland. Now, the house happened to be where they lived was not that far from Maryland, but I don't know why. It'll be something that I will look at later, but at least it puts me in a time and a place. The next thing is the last residence fact that's brought in, that's on the record, that you can see when you look at one of those files. It may not be the place of the death, and it's not clear to me that it's the same record that we used to see where it said last payment. I'm not sure. I'm trying to follow up on that, but again, it's still putting me in a place and a time where that person was, or a Social Security Death Index, Social Security payment went to. I didn't see any conflicts in the 85 that I looked at where there was conflict between where they died and where the last residence was. It was really close. It was close enough to give me a very good place to work. So that's one of the couple reasons why I did it. It's also I found that working with one record group really helped me get into the rhythm of doing the work, because I didn't have to think about uh, I didn't have to think about the what source what the source had to look like, what information I needed in the citation. So I got into the rhythm of doing the work, the keystrokes, the managing of images, the managing of the facts, and citing everything the way I wanted them. So it was just something for me, and I'm going to continue to use this at times when I want to concentrate on a record group, and I'm going to use this process and keep this file going and keep it as an ancestry member tree. So is this, and then I'll check it every once in a while, see what new records have come in from my tree in the ancestry member tree, because I can see that by the way I sort those results. I hope this is helpful. It's been a fun experience for me. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.